Well, hello, hello, hello. This is Sandy, Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona, and this is Thursday Night Live. And we're going to have some fun tonight. So, we are going to actually talk about things we love and the things we hate. Because even in a garden, there are vegetables you love, and things you hate. If you're a homesteader, there may be animals you love and ones you hate. So, we're just going to talk about that and just have some fun. Now, I have one day to pack tomorrow, pack the truck, and we are leaving early Saturday morning. We actually could have left tomorrow, but I already had some things that I had set up. I have to drop some stuff off and not until the afternoon. So it's just like, won't be a terribly rushed day, just getting stuff done. You know, last of the laundry, last of all the things you have to do before you go. But we are going to talk about fun things. And I thought, what's more fun than talking about the things you love and the things that you hate? Oh, and Cheryl says, hello, safe travels. Thank you very much. We had been talking to my parents and they were going to meet us over in Midwest, which is a little town in Wyoming, but it kind of intersects where the two of us would come down. And I told my sister, I said, I think they really need to fly. You know, this is silliness. My dad is 94 years old. My mom's 88. Why do you want to drive all the way to Yuma, Arizona? From their house, it's just over 20 hours. It's 18 hours and some from our house. Why would you want to do that? I don't know. Matthew is in and said hi too. So I thought I just need some kind of relaxing live stream and just have some fun. So let's start out first. So if you're listening or if you've already said something in the chat, tell me the vegetable that you hate the most. If it's broccoli, if it's Brussels sprouts, if whatever kind it is. And what's the kind of vegetable you love the most? Now, I will start it off just for fun. What vegetable do I hate the most? I have talked about this vegetable many times. Now, I love what it looks like. I love to paint this vegetable. Oh, hi, Julie. Julie says zucchini. I do actually love zucchini because you can do so many things with it. But the vegetable that I hate the most is eggplant. I try to fix it a lot of different ways, and I've hated it basically all the time. I can mask it in some soup or a casserole and I don't really taste it because it doesn't really have a taste. It tastes like mush to me. It's seriously, it is the worst vegetable on the planet. But it is beautiful. And so sometimes I will even plant it because I want to be able to paint it. I'll plant different varieties, because you can get great big fat ones, you can get really skinny ones. Sometimes I just go to the market, the farmer's market, and just buy different kinds of eggplant. So if you see me buying them, if you're in a store when I'm in a store, and you know I hate eggplant, you should know I'm probably going to paint that eggplant. Julie says, I love eggplant. Tastes like whatever you put it in. Well, that's true because it doesn't taste like anything. I mean, zucchini has more flavor than an eggplant. And I know some people just love eggplant, but for me, I hate eggplant. What about you? What kind of plant do you hate? And Dorothy's here. Hello, hello. How are you, my friend? Dorothy, we're talking about things we love and things we hate because I thought it would be a fun live. And Angie is in too. Hey, Angie girl. Angie. Shh. Guess what? Tori had an interview in Rapid City. And it looks like they could be moving back. Tori's a daughter, a sister to Angie. So that would be kind of exciting, Joe says, oh, Are all the kids going to come back to roost? Now, Dorothy says radishes are gross. Yellow squash is my favorite, especially with cheese. I love squashes. So good. But probably my favorite. What vegetable do I love the most? This is very difficult. But I do love sun gold tomatoes. You know, they're those little orangey yellow ones. They're prolific. I mean, you plant one and you will just harvest and harvest and harvest and harvest. But when you pop them into your mouth and bite into them, they have this sensation, if they're perfectly ripe, that is just amazing. My favorite all-around tomato is pink accordion. Now, if you haven't seen, let me show you how I store, because I like to save my seeds. I like to store tomato seeds in little glass jars. They have a cork, so it's breathable. If there was moisture in there, the moisture would go away. But this is a fun tomato. This is called terracotta tomato. Makes a huge tomato, and it's kind of brown. It is fabulous. And if you followed me very long, you know that my brother and I have done some testing on tomatoes. We would save the seeds from the very first ripe one and the very last ripe one. And then those would be the ones we would plant. We would sometimes hand pollinate in between those two plants. Well, this is what we came up with. I call them Jim's orange, because the ones we tested were all orange ones, orange or yellow. And what we found after a few summers is that any of these seeds that we planted would always ripen before any of the other ones. And so that's just a fun thing to do in your garden. Yeah, and I think you could probably do it with a lot of ones that are pretty much heirloomed. So they're not going to cross pollinate. They wouldn't work with a hybrid. But like these ones come true every single time. But what the thing that changed was that they would ripen earlier and they would last longer in the season. So that was fabulous to me. Cheryl says tomatoes are the best. Two doves, bees, and gardens. Now, these two, they know a lot of stuff about gardening. So if you haven't checked out their channel, you should, because, oh my gosh, so many things you will learn. But, I mean, I have all kinds of these little bottles. Some of them are short, some of them are tall. This one is Cherokee Purple, because you can't go wrong with the Cherokee Purple. Angie says, I got some horseradish and horseradish mustard from Smugglers in Wisconsin today. The horseradish burns my brain. And all I did was smell it. Horseradish can be just so powerful. And that's something that you'll either hate or love. I do love it though. It can be very powerful. So sometimes you got to mix it in with some stuff to kind of tone it down. Some mayonnaise or cream cheese or sour cream, just to meld it a little bit. Otherwise, you can't even breathe hardly. So I like that. So those are my love-hate relationships with vegetables. Now, another thing I love and hate when it comes to my garden, in the spring and in the fall. In the springtime, you start your seedlings inside, you've bought soil or you've made a mixture and you think it should be wonderful, and all of a sudden you have gnats. Now, you didn't have gnats before, so it has to be in that soil. Those eggs have to be in that soil. That is one of the reasons why I don't buy Miracle-Gro anymore, because it was just like horrible. And so I had the little yellow rectangles and I put them in with my seedlings, and the gnats get attracted to it. But in the fall time, let me tell you, this is the worst thing that has ever happened to me in the fall when I've harvested. It was disgusting. Okay, so I brought all kinds of vegetables in because one day it was going to be pretty cold. Other things can get covered in it. It wasn't going to be frosting, but I needed to pull my garden up anyway. So I'm pulling all these tomatoes. Now, I have done this multiple times, pulling all the tomatoes, and I'll put them in tubs or I'll put them in 5-gallon buckets. There's a whole bunch of green ones in there. So I try to put the ripest ones on top so I can use them as I go. So I have a 5-gallon bucket and then I have this great big box. And I'm just taking them out of the box. It's sitting on top of the 5-gallon bucket. That is probably my mistake because it didn't have a way to breathe, right? So my mistake on that part. And 2 days ago, well, every once in a while you'd see a gnat. You know, those things happen when you bring your vegetables in. It can bring in some gnats. It can just do it. So 2 days ago, I go out to where all these are, and there are gnats everywhere. And it's like, what the heck? I hate gnats. And so I take some of my little rectangles and I put a little bowl of vinegar because certain things attract, even just water. Wine can attract the gnats. And I think, okay, not a big deal. Yesterday, I go where they are. And there is 10 times as many gnats. And it's like, what the heck? What the heck is happening with all these gnats? And I thought, I'm just going to carry these vegetables that are by this outside before I uncover any of these. Because I usually have like a dish towel over top of buckets or whatever. So I lift up this box that has mostly green tomatoes in it to take it outside on top of this 5-gallon bucket of tomatoes. But because the box was heavy and there was no air exchange going on, live and learn, every single tomato had turned into mush. It was just liquid. And the amount of gnats in there was just unfathomable. And I'm throwing a towel over top of it and I'm taking it outside and I'm dumping outside by the compost. And there's literally eggs of the gnats all over in there too. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm never doing that again. Never. I mean, they hadn't even been inside for very long. And I thought, when there's a lack of air, there's an issue. So I hate that. Agent Joe, how are ya? I saw you not too long on, I don't know, was it Ann Dale's live or somebody's live? Awesome. Dorothy says, gnats have been bad this year everywhere. I totally agree with that. But this was way beyond bad. So in that room where those gnats were, even though I took all those vegetables outside, right? And because I had already put those squares and they had gnats on them, but not anything spectacular. I literally went to the store and bought these things. They're for flies, right? I hung them up in that room and literally in a half hour, there was just gnats all over it. And I thought, oh my gosh, never do that again. Never. So basically, I didn't bring any tomatoes back in my house because I just thought, I just can't do it. I got tomato plants growing downstairs to take to Arizona. I'm just not doing it. And Henry is here. Hello, hello. Oh, it was so bad. It was nothing. It was like nothing I'd ever even seen in my entire life. And I thought, lessons learned. But the things you love and things you hate, because I love tomatoes. And to have to throw those tomatoes out into the compost is just beyond hurting my heart. Jennifer Ocean, Homestead, how are you? She liked and shared. Thank you very much. Always give me a thumbs up. I totally appreciate that. So happy to have a short bit of free time to swing in and give you a thumbs up and hello, Miss Sandy. You are so sweet. I literally have some blue rolls of Raid brand fly ribbon. Seriously, I went to the store specifically to get these. It was like, oh my gosh. There must be a chemical in there that attracts, because it's for flies, but the gnats were attracted to it. So it must have some kind of smell. I mean, it's sticky, of course, but for them to go right to it. But basically, I hung 3 of them up in that room, and I think by tomorrow, my gnat problem will be gone. It's crazy. Okay. Other things we love and hate. Now, some of you are homesteaders. Some of you have backyard chickens. Now, my favorite animal as a suburban homesteader, actually, my number one is chickens. They are so entertaining. They give me eggs. They eat bugs. They're just funny. Second, rabbits, just because I want their poo. So, what is your favorite animal? And then I'm going to tell you the one that I hate the most. And I'm sure I'm going to get comments when it goes later on. I might get comments in the chat right now. But I have to tell you, I love chickens. I'd even, if I had more space, I would like to have ducks, maybe a goose. If you have more than one goose, they become a tribe together. But if you put a goose with a bunch of chickens, it is just a protector. And so there's a lot of people that will do that. Even people that free range their chickens, you know, and they move them from paddock to paddock to paddock, they'll only have one goose with them because that goose will scare off stuff and warn those chickens. So I'd like to have one of those. Plus, I love goose, you know, to eat. I do. It's all basically all brown dark meat. And I seriously love them. Oh, bees, honeybees, and native bees. Yes, those are top of the list too. They help your garden, they give you honey, they're beautiful, they pollinate your flowers. Those are top list too. So what do I hate? What do you guys hate for a barnyard animal? Okay, I'm just going to say it. And a lot of my friends are not going to be happy with me because they raise these and they like them. I do not like them. The animal that I hate, Jennifer says, I could do without raccoons. They destroy your home. We don't really have a problem at all with raccoons. We don't have squirrels at our house, so we're very lucky. Jennifer says that goats are loud and annoying. See, that could be somebody's choice, but my choice, I honestly hate pigs. I do, and I know a lot of my homestead friends have pigs, and they post these pictures, and I think they're so cute, and I look at them, and it literally, I want to gag. I hate pigs. I haven't eaten pork in over 20 years, and I know a lot of people love their bacon. You know, they love their hams. They love that. Okay, I just can't do it because they gross me out. There's a whole reasons. There's lots of reasons. But that's the animals I love and the animals I hate on a homestead. Dorothy says, as a child, a goose once bit my finger. Not a fan. Geese can be very territorial, and especially when you got a group of them. My aunt that lived in Minnesota, my Aunt Marion, when you drove up their lane, they had this gaggle of geese. And sometimes, oh, Angie says that she's going, bye, Aunt. Love ya. They literally would come to your car sometimes and not let people out of their car. And it was like, oh my gosh. And my Aunt Marion would shoo them away because she wasn't afraid of them. And they were afraid of her. Okay, favorite instrument or the instrument that you hate. So, when I was young, I learned how to play, well, everybody learns how to play the little recorder. Some of my friends could play it very well. I could just play the regular songs that we learned in school. But I also learned how to play the violin. I took lessons for 3 years. I taught myself to play the cello, but I haven't played any of those for a very long time. But I love the sound of both of them. I love watching people that play the cello because they become just like engulfed around the cello. And I just find that just so fascinating and so beautiful. Um, the instrument that I dislike the most. Mm. Oh, Julie says that she learned violin in elementary school. Awesome. But any instrument that you learn, you just have to practice. And I mean, lots of kids are forced to take piano lessons or take band for a while. I think if that instrument fits them and they enjoy it, that's great. But I don't think you should force somebody to play an instrument. Um, honestly, I can't actually say um, an instrument that I don't care for. Jennifer doesn't like the drums. The drums can be loud, but my kids learned how to play the drums and they did get better and better. What about the bagpipes? Can be both beautiful and annoying. That's true. Though when my brother got married, they up in the loft, there was bagpipe music, and that was very beautiful. But I could see how that could be very annoying. Julie says, not a fan of drums. My brother was a drummer in high school. He plays piano, guitar, and ukulele now. Fun. I wouldn't mind learning how to play the ukulele. There's some people down in Yuma that I know that play it. And that could be kind of fun. Dorothy played the trumpet. My sister played the trumpet, my dad and my brothers, and my brother and my cousins all played the trombone. But what I really want is a bassoon. Band was a quarter of my education for 7 years. That is fabulous. Um, Jennifer says, reminds me of an accordion. I think she's talking about that the bagpipes remind her of accordion. And I wasn't ever really a great fan of the accordion until I saw this guy. He was on, I don't know if it was America's Got Talent or something, but he was from Canada and he played the funnest song. And I laughed and laughed. I probably watched it 3 times because he was just so funny and he could play it. And in fact, one part of it, it sounded like the bagpipes. And so see, sometimes you just have to have the master play that instrument and then you will love them. Okay, next one, family. What part of family do you love and which part of family do you hate? Because be honest, there's always those parts. You just got to be real. There are things that you love about a family, and there are things you do not like about your family. um, Sometimes I think parents try to shield and protect their children, so you don't see the actual real interaction that two grown-up humans, what happens. I remember, like my parents never, ever raised their voices to each other in front of us kids. They never fought in front of us. They never argued, nothing. We never saw that my entire time I'm growing up, right? But this is what happens when you don't see that, because then you don't know how to You haven't gained the skill to know what to do. So I'm young. I'm married. My husband starts screaming at me because I did not dry out the bathtub after I cleaned it. Now, I don't find any logical purpose for that, but that was just something he was used to when he grew up. His mother, after she scrubbed all the bathroom, she would take a towel and she would dry the tub and she would dry everything. I have never seen that happen. So I'm getting yelled at. I don't have a skill to know what to do. I stand there in the middle of the living room crying because I didn't have that skill. So as parents, we need to teach our kids a lot of skills. Two Doves Bees and Garden says, I wish my siblings would find a way to give up smoking. See, that can be irritating because you want them to live a long time and they're, and they don't want to hear anything about it. When people say this is my life and I get to do what I want to, that is true. But you're going to affect a lot of people with some of the things you do. Julie says, I have never heard of doing that before. Doing that after cleaning the tub. Well, people grew up different ways, but I didn't have that skill. And I had to learn the skill of fighting. I mean, I fought with my brothers and sisters when I grew up. Kids do that, But it was not a skill that I knew. And so I don't know if that's a love-hate thing that I have with my family. It was just something I just didn't have, and I wish I had. So, but I'll give you some background of my family. I have a sister, 2 brothers. Both of my parents are alive. I have 5 children and then 2 stepchildren, Joe's 2 boys. Though I have been in their life half their life. So with 14 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. And so I love a big family. That is something I love. Now, other people do not love a big family. And that's okay. Those are just things. And like when my kids were little, we would go places and I would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I was keeping track and it was faster in my brain than saying all their names. Now, tell me if you've ever done this. You've called one of your children by another child's name. Or you get mad at them and you go through every single name before you get to their name. Your children do not like this. And when they're an adult and you do the same thing, they don't like it, but they do it to their children. And so I don't think you can get mad when you're going to do the same thing with your kids unless you only have one child. So if you never want to do that, just only have one. So I would say, you know who I'm talking to. Julie says, every parent does it. I think they do. Just because, your brain's always working more than one thing. You're talking, you're doing something, but your brain is still working that subconscious and it's doing stuff. And so sometimes it's like, whatever your name is, I'm talking to you. So that would be crazy. Now we're almost at 30 minutes. And I hope you maybe got to learn a few more things about me. Sarah says she did call one of our kids the dog's name once. It can happen because they're all part of the family. Dorothy's direct quote from Sterling's dad, Scotty, Sharon, Sean. That is so funny. It's just something that happens. But I hope you enjoyed this fun half hour, things you love and things you hate. And sometimes until you start thinking that back and forth in all the different parts of your life, you really get to know yourself. And so I hope you got to know a little bit more about me doing that. Now, we leave in on the 11th. Next week, my live stream is Wednesday night instead of Thursday night because I am teaching class at the Yuma has a fall fair and a spring fair, and I am teaching actually hospital employees that get to come to the fair earlier. And so I'm going to be teaching them. Oh, thanks, Dorothy. I love you too. You're so sweet. So as the next 3 months come along, there are some things in my work that I'm working on. And so my goal for 2026 is not only to have my regular stuff, actually more videos than I had done during the summer, but I'm also want to set up an online classes for art and online classes for gardening. So keep an eye out for those. Those will be my goal to have started right after the first of the year. And so I'm doing a lot of work in the background for those. Thank you very much. I will, I might even do a live when we're driving sometimes because we are going a different route than we usually do because I don't want to go through Salt Lake and I don't want to go through Las Vegas. And so we're going to do a little bit of mixing it up a little bit. And I don't want to be on some of those interstates because it has been dangerous all summer on some of those interstates. Thank you, Dorothy. And I'm so happy that my dad and my mom and dad are flying instead of driving. And it's just like, yes. So I'm totally stoked about that. And we will just meet them and we'll pick them up at the airport. I told my parents, just buy another car down there. Leave it down there all the time. I said, once you fly down there and you don't have to spend 3 days driving, because they take 3 days usually, you will love it. Thank you very much. Yep, the Lord is good and he always surrounds us in our truck while we're driving. And so I appreciate that. Everybody have a great night. Remember, next week it is Wednesday instead of Thursday. Same time, and I will be in Arizona. So that will be fun. Bye, everybody.